Call, enjoy the second half.
And out to the 20-yard line, short return, and George Pekaski kind enough to join us from our broadcast. And they're looking for some clarity. What clarity can you provide for fans right now in terms of the stadium situation?
The clarity is we're moving forward in Hammond. We've identified one viable site, the Lost Marsh Golf Course. We're looking at another
guy or a defensive guy.
I'm a defensive guy. If we were to win 2-0, that would be fine with me.
Very baseball-like score for a baseball fan right now. Case Keenum going to work, veteran quarterback trying to get away from the pressure, and he can still move as he gets into Cleveland territory.
Well, George, if you're a defensive guy, you've got a pretty damn good quarterback. What do you think of Caleb Williams?
Oh, great kid. Wants to be great himself. Terrific relationship with Coach John.
What did that feel like? Give us a sense of what that postseason was like.
It was a great ride. It ended a little too soon. Miraculous, unbelievable, stupendous. But ultimately, we fell short. We got to go farther.
Savon Ahmed taking it on that check down. What a cutback.
Oh, wow.
Off of a foot injury, trying to make a name for himself. It's a touchdown for Savon Ahmed.
Well, that's one of the keys is identifying great players in the offseason to build on what you did a season ago. Whether it's Salvan and other good players that have been signed here. Talk about Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson identifying the right type of players you're looking for.
Yeah, so we're great at the top of the roster, but we need to be strong throughout the 53. You know, if somebody gets injured, somebody's out for a couple of weeks, we need somebody else to step up. So it's great to see these kids get an opportunity to perform.
That was exciting. I think the fact that George, your head coach, and your general manager are so locked at the hip, what have you detected is the key to their relationship?
I think it's great alignment, great communication, and stunningly in our business, lack of ego. They just want the Bears to succeed.
Ahmed, who did a lot of that work on that 49-yard catch and run for a touchdown. The Bears have their first lead of the day. Here's Raheem Sanders. They call him Rocket. And he takes it out to about the 30-yard line. Back to the touchdown. A lot of good blocking to set this up.
Yeah, look at the guys out front really leading the way. There's Jones. Hey, there's a rookie center getting down the field. And then look at the running back. This is where he's really dangerous, is in space. That's what Eric Studesville has talked about, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield in space, make plays, finds guys, hits the accelerator, and guys are in his dust. So.
It was the stiff arm for me. I was years ago. It's nice to see him get his shine.
Shedeur Sanders starting the second half for Todd Monken's offense, and he delivers on target. Excellent catch by, this is a really good return guy in Gage Larvadan. I always want to make sure I say it correctly because it confuses me looking at it. He's their top punt returner, but he's got some speed. He made a nice play out of that one from Shedeur Sanders, who's getting the opportunity in the second half. 7 starts a year ago, went 3-4 as a rookie. Won his last 2 outings. Averaged almost 200 yards passing.
Yeah, we saw him actually here in Chicago, 59% completion. But the bugaboo for him was the 7 touchdowns to the 9 picks.
And a fumble on the exchange. Good job to jump back on top of it by Amani Marshall and rescue it for the Browns.
And you're right, Stacy. It's about time. I think he had 3 turnovers in that game against Bears, or like even here, quarterback center exchange. First things first, got to start with getting the quarterback center exchange. And looks like it was a good snap. Just got to squeeze the hands, and unfortunately the ball's on the ground. That's how you're going to be judged. You got to take care of the football. It's like a bar of gold. I've said that forever. You got to treat it with the care it deserves.
Got Kingsley Egwakin in there at center.
Came off the Detroit practice squad. That ball is deflected in the air and it falls harmlessly incomplete.
It was hard to believe a couple years ago the Bears were in quarterback competitions, and they draft Caleb Williams, and obviously we know what the future will hold. But Jim, how difficult is it to go through a camp? And a nice job by Lynch there, getting the bat down.
Lynch's been active today.
He's been really active. How difficult is it to go through a quarterback competition in camp?
Well, I think at some point you got to make a decision. To me, it's already too late. They should have made this decision. You look at Minnesota, they've already decided Kyler Murray's their guy. To me, this is too long.
Big blitz on Sanders as he gets rid of it and connects downfield. Luke Floria able to make the grab, and Shedeur Sanders stood in there with probably the heaviest Bears blitz we've seen all day today. Coming down on
Yeah, they bring the heat here, the Chicago Bears, defensively. Why not? New quarterback in, second half. And it's just man-to-man, one-on-one. Josh Blackwell really can't do much about it here in open space. Yep. Although they will need him in a severe way, given, again, the attrition at injury.
Josh can do it all.
To this secondary.
He can play nickel, he can play outside, he can play safety. He has really filled roles in the past for the Chicago Bears.
He's an excellent special teamer as well. Toss play for Marshall, and Jamry Chroma helps finish it off. Sewell was there, along with John Radigan, who's been a great special teamer in his career at a couple of different stops.
But getting back to your question, Stacy, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's kind of been pushed to the side here. It's been a two-man race, but to me, it's still too long. You've got to make a decision. You've got to get guys caught up to speed, because they've got a lot of new players, too, as well. And so whether it's Deshaun, who hasn't played in a long time, and Shedeur, who hasn't played a lot, if you are going with the young guy, give him all the reps. Let him see so he can learn and go from recall after that, because you're never going to be able to expose him to everything in practice.
Sanders dancing, looking for an alleyway, and he's just going to have to duck and run. I think you make a great point, Stacey, because it's such a luxury that the Bears find themselves in. A lot of teams obviously love to have the solidified veteran quarterback, but it is a real luxury when you know who it is from the start of the first snap of the preseason into the regular season. The Bears know that, the Browns don't.
Yeah, and we've chronicled Caleb Williams and just his growth from year 1 to year 2. It's hard to imagine. I asked him what Ben Johnson is like as a teacher, and he basically, paraphrasing it, said, he's the kind of guy you want to stick with forever. He believes in me, I believe in him. This is going to be a partnership for a long time in Chicago.
They're trying to figure that part out here in Cleveland. Sanders did a nice job of keeping it alive for Marshall, and he gets hit near the sideline and forced out of bounds.
That's twice. He's moved well in the pocket. Good adjustment there. Finds his back out of the backfield. Going to be close to a first down. I think he ended up a little short.
Dante Manning ended up meeting Marshall shy of the sticks and made some contact with him. So it is 4th and 1. In regular season, who knows if you do go for a play like this, depending on how aggressive you might want to be, you might bring the field goal unit out. But in this situation, preseason, there's no reason not to try for it. They'll run that 4th and short play. It'll be a run play. It'll be a stop for the Chicago defense yet again.
It's a good play by the Bears defense, but I'm going to tell you right now, because Shedeur was late getting out underneath the center. It's a power play. I'm not a big fan of that down where you're pulling the guard down by the goal line. But, hey, Bears get the stop. Big play.
Vandenberg, Chroma, Sewell, all in the pack. Trying to improve that run defense. They get a 4th down and 1 stop and a turnover on downs. And he's got a one-on-one matchup on the outside, and a rolling Scotty Miller is there with the catch. Picks up a first down from Case Keenum. Now in his 2nd year with the Bears, his 8th NFL team, and his 14th season. And of course, his role is to be a continuing mentor for Caleb Williams.
He's been in every role. He's been a starter, he's been a backup, and now he's kind of a sounding board as a number 3 for the Bears. And I think it's awesome. It's good for Tyson Bagent. It's good for Caleb Williams to talk through situations and what the ups and downs are going through as young quarterbacks learning.
J.P. Richardson makes the catch, part of the Chicago practice squad last year. He picks up a first down, so back-to-back nice plays.
Good quick release, just an out play, getting to his receiver quick. Just becomes an outside run play and just uncovered. Nice positive play, and that's the savviness of a veteran. He's out there with some of the threes. I see Mason Murphy at right tackle out there, so he's out there with a lot of threes right now, and he's running it. Here they are making positive plays because he's been there and he's done it.
Handoff of Britton Brown, and the Bears back spins his way ahead.
That time there, the Bears had 2 tight ends, Hayden Large and Ismail, lined up on the right side at the line of scrimmage there, and they go run right. So 12 personnel, run right. You're going to see a lot of that, but again, the misdirection. And one thing Ben Johnson's going to do to you philosophically is going to take you one way in the first quarter and take you the opposite direction in the 4th quarter, and so he becomes very hard to predict.
sets up his plays nicely as the game goes along to go to that bag of tricks late in the game.
Keenum buying time, pointing out Richardson. He'll try to dump it off underneath, and the running back trying to make the play there. Checking with Jasmine Baker with a little bit more on this important role that Case Keenum plays.
Important role is right. Tyson Bagent said that Case Keenum was the best teammate he has ever had because he's been in every position a quarterback can be in. They talk, they practice, they hang out. Case's kids actually call Caleb Williams Uncle Candy because anytime that Caleb goes over to look for advice or just watch film, he makes sure to bring a sweet treat.
Unc.
Gotta love that. A little young to be Unc, technically, but Uncle might be a little bit better for him right now.
I love this.
3rd and 8.
I love this report because I think it's so underappreciated and undervalued, just having quarterback continuity and a continuous room. And the fact that you've got JT Barrett back as your quarterback's coach, you've got Press Taylor hanging out still with this team, obviously, as the offensive coordinator. And you've got this bevy of quarterbacks, Jim, that, you know, can count on each other, buffer off of one another, and you've got that guy right there kind of directing the show when there are questions.
Well, sometimes when you're in the starter's role and things aren't going the way you want them to, the head coach can be pretty intense. Your offensive coordinator can be pretty intense. Your quarterback coach can be pretty intense because, hey, we want it done this way. And then that's when you turn to your veteran quarterback to be that sounding board, where maybe he can turn to the third QB like Case, and he really can soften the blow of what the coaches are looking for.
Who among us? It's a good problem to have in this city right now. 2nd down for Shedeur Sanders. And a couple of nice plays on his first series that fell a little short after the Bears got a stop. Marshall gets hit by one of the new additions to this back end, and Beanie Bishop, who has to deal with a suspension for the first 3 games of the season, going back to a substance violation, or substance policy violation, I should say, last year. But he's out there. Jordan Vandenberg's out there. Nafai Sewell, Jamrick Croma, Lynch. A lot of new faces, new additions, Gallimore being amongst them, and Bishop too.
Let's not forget, Beanie Bishop had 4 picks for the Steelers in 2024. Seen as kind of a Swiss Army knife and another necessity now in the secondary.
Had 2 in one game when Aaron Rodgers was throwing passes for the New York Jets that year. He was on the practice squad before signing with the Saints last November. And right on cue, Beanie Bishop breaks on the ball. The former college All-American makes a nice play there to set up 4th down.
Yeah, it became a 3-by-1 set, so he's one-on-one on the backside as the strong side safety rolled down. He understands it, recognizes it, breaks on the football, and perfect hand placement to bat the ball out of position of the receiver there. So Malachi Corley. So good job by Beanie Bishop.
Another former ex-New York Jet in Corley. A good play by Bishop. 2nd year out of West Virginia. Kyron Hudson is back to return. Booted away by Bojorquez, one of the top punters in the game. Hudson, a decent return, gets hit shy of the 40-yard line, and Bears will have decent field position. From under center now, Keenum floats it outside, and it is caught by Ray McLeod. Just got signed this week. Veteran skill player, has done a lot of kick returning and punt returning, has been a back, has been a receiver, and he is now with the Bears this week.
Nice job in the pocket there with the protection.
Quarterbacks during the regular season, they're all trying to figure out a routine, and I feel like when you got somebody like Case Keenum, that helps you line up your routine a little bit better.
Yeah, you do, because every day is a different day. You know, when you go in on a Wednesday, Tuesday's your day off, Wednesday's your install for 1st and 2nd down, Thursday's going to be your blitz reel, 3rd down, and a little bit of goal line, and then Friday's going to be red zone in 2-minute drill. So you've got to prep for every one of those days. Do they know how to watch the 3rd down blitz reel? What protections to check to? It's nice to have a guy like Case Keenum when you're sitting in there. Hey, man, you may want to check to this, or let's do this. Coach talked about that. And just to be a guide to help a young quarterback along in how to study and prepare for a game. That's a big part of it. And until you get that routine down, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. And there's a lot of tools that you can turn to, but you better have those tools in place for your preparation in order to play on Sunday. And if you do that, the games are easy. The games are easy to play if you're prepared.
3rd and 2, trying to move the chains, and a stop for Cleveland on Britton Brown. It'll be 4th down and short.
To that point, Caleb Williams specifically said this week that he is head above water, which is critical because last year he said he was drowning, and the ability to get, Jim, as you just alluded to, new plays in, he's able to execute those plays. We've talked about that, all of that, but it's his process.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, a lot of it, we talk about it being a language. It is very wordy. I mean, a lot of these offenses are very wordy, and they're very specific in what they tell everybody to do. So when I go, hey, I write Z half fly 772 Z drive X post on 1, it tells everybody what to do. And
there is a connection to McLeod from Keenum on 4th down and short. They get a big gainer into the red zone of Cleveland.
There's a case in point right there. Case has done it for so long. It looks easy for him right now. Look, play action, turns his back to this. It's got the over route, pulls the trigger. Perfect throw. Ray, it's on stride. He can just run and step out of bounds. And it's easy for Case. But for young quarterbacks, it's not, because you're thinking so much, all right, we just went I write Z half fly. Well, I write Z half fly 772, Z drive, X post. I know exactly what everybody's doing.
Rick Brown pounds it up the middle and picks up a good gain on 1st down.
And within what I just said, I'm hot off too strong. My Z is now my hot. If they do bring too strong, do I want to now check it? Do I want to, hey, I want to run this play. Let's max protect it, and I'm going to go this route. You got to have answers. You got to have answers.
A lot of these play calls are 12 to 18 words. Then you add the kill play.
Yep.
So there's another 12 to 18 words, and all of those words mean something specific to each position group. It's really fascinating to hear it. We might be able to hear it pre-snap, too, some of the things from Case Keenum. Looking left, throwing left, wide open, touchdown, Britton Brown.
It's just easy. He crosses it. He knows what he's seeing. It's an easy pitch and catch. He sees the defense is out leveraged due to the coverage. And that's because he's played a lot of football. He's come with a lot of starts, and he can pass that long. And that's what Tyson Bagent talked to us about. He goes, I want to get really fast at my process. This guy, Case Keenum, right here, is so fast at his process. He knows what the defense is already in. He knows what the coverage is. I know I'm going to the flat right now. Step, easy throw, touchdown. Simple. The game's easy when you know where you're going with the football.
Now it's 66 NFL starts under his belt. Case Keenum, one of the great college players of this century, and he finds Britton Brown, who is so key in that win against the Bengals last year, and he gets the touchdown to put the Bears up 14. Olympic sport, and guess who just punched their ticket to the women's flag football Olympic tournament? That's Canada. So you'll see Team Canada. You will have a team to root for in women's flag football because the Canadians just punched their ticket.
I'm not
to the
surprised.
Olympics.
I don't know why they didn't call me to play quarterback.
I was also wondering why they didn't just make you their #1 wideout with your height. I figured you're just the high point ball.
You never know, Stacy. NIL money's in a different place. They may bring it back.
Bears defense back out onto the field as Shedeur Sanders will go back to work from the 30-yard line. The Bears defense with a couple of stops on each of Shedeur Sanders' series so far. Sanders floats it, and that gets batted away. Ruben Hippolyte got back to the receiver and got a little help from the back end as well. But that was a nice recovery with Skylar Thomas, the rookie. Look at Hippolyte coming all the way back to jar that ball loose and sandwich Larvidan with Skylar Thomas.
Well, you credit his hustle because it forced Shedeur Sanders to have to really put a little bit more loft on that ball than what he did. Probably should have drilled it a little bit more, may have had enough clearance, but I do think it was the hustle of the linebacker that forced that ball to float.
Some of that speed, that's what Ruben Hippolyte came in with a reputation for Tuesdays last year.
He did, second rounder, let's not forget, fourth rounder out of Maryland last year. Appeared in just 7 games, 1 start. Again, I said in the first half, they need to see more on special teams from him, but he's gonna be essential to this group. We haven't really seen Keyshawn Elliott, the 5th rounder rookie, out of Arizona State for the Bears because of injury. And so expect to see him perhaps back next week. But collectively, the Bears should have a plenty amount of speed. Also Noah Sewell coming back into the mix.
And the former Cleveland Brown, Devin Bush, who was one of the fastest players when he got drafted, obviously.
You now, talk to me about y'all's relationship and moving forward, how much you want to make him proud.
Yeah, you obviously, when you get a good coach and you get a good teacher, you want to make them proud. You want to be able to go out there and execute, and that's what he is. He's a great teacher. He's been helpful for me, and being able to, I came to the NFL to learn more about football, to be a professional, to all these different things, and so he's been a great stepping stone for me, and we want to keep this going and just keep getting better as myself, but also as a team, and I think a big piece of it is having the coach and QB relationship being very strong.
Let's talk about weapons, because you have no shortage of them. You have your three-headed monster with the tight ends, the running backs, the wide receivers. How have you seen that natural competition between them fuel and push them even harder?
Yeah, I think being able to have that confidence that I'm the guy, and speaking about them, have that confidence that I'm the guy, and have that confidence, like, if all of them are on the field at the same time, they all feel like if it's man covers that the ball's going to come to them, and that's what we want. And so it's fun, having these guys, having such a young core with such, we're so close and so tight knit that it's pretty fun, and it's pretty cool to watch myself. Sometimes they make big plays and they're down there celebrating, and I can't run down. I got another play to get in from coach, and to be able to see them celebrate. Sometimes I get a little celebration back there, trying to support them. So it's been really fun. It's been really encouraging. And my goal, interception. My goal for us as a team to be as close-knit as we can before everything starts rolling, and a big piece of that is the young core that we have.
Well, I'll let you celebrate now with your team. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Well, it's a pick for Beanie Bishop.
Love that.
And the pressure came from another newcomer. That's Jaden Loving, the undrafted first. A floater from Sanders, and that's about as easy of a pick as Beanie Bishop's going to have.
Yeah, and Loving, he had the bat down the play before, so now showing another defensive lineman who's an undrafted free agent by the Bears, and for Beanie, kind of an overthrow, as you mentioned, by Sanders, and Bears take advantage. Second turnover of the day for the defense.
Nice in the veins.
Miller Moss, Caleb Williams' former backup quarterback at USC, is in the game. Britton Brown got clotheslined on his way upfield, but that'll bring up second down for Moss and company.
What a great interview by Jasmine there, and detailing just how far along Caleb Williams has come. His relation has to win at all costs, which we saw in the fourth quarter of more games than we've seen in a long time last year with these Bears.
All those comeback victories,
all
they
those
stepped
comebacks.
up. And Garrett Bradbury is a huge piece. Drew Dahlman was playing some really good football going back to his time in Atlanta. He had a great season last year, retired early at age 27. Garrett Bradbury is going to take over as the full-time center, traded from New England to replace Dahlman. That's a veteran guy who's been there a long time, another Pro Bowler. And for him to say that about a young quarterback in Caleb Williams speaks volumes. I
just think it talks about the maturity of Caleb to recognize that. It's kind of when, as a coach, especially Ben, who wants his offense run his way, it's kind of, I'm not your friend, I'm your father. They're going to, you have to coach that position hard. And I credit Caleb. He's like, hey, half the time I thought he was mad at me, but he realizes that the coach is coaching him hard because he knows he can be great. He knows how good he can be. And thankfully, Caleb didn't take that personally. He accepted that constructional criticism, got better from it. And you brought up a great stat preparing for this game, Stacy, about the third downs, how good Caleb is on third downs. He makes the hard plays look easy. If he can catch up, and what I talked about, making the layups, he will be a complete quarterback. He really will be.
How about the evolution of the trust that Ben Johnson has in him? I mean, Ben telling us this week that I brought Caleb into my office this week, and I sat him down and said, look at these plays. You got to make me right here.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb has the ability to bail out a bad call. Mm-hmm. And Ben Johnson is rarely wrong, but if he is, the Bears trust in the fact that off schedule, Caleb can own it.
He's proven that he can.
Yeah. Ben used a timeout to reconvene, and then this is going to upset him.
Offense number 80, 5-yard penalty, third down.
When you get a penalty after a timeout, and Kadir Ismail, who comes from the famous Ismail football family, of course, Rocket Ismail and
Quadri.
Quadri was one of my favorite players coming up, and very cool to see Kadir on the field right now, but that's going to upset Ben Johnson. Penalties after a timeout.
Yeah. But I just think that to further that about Caleb, all the complaints about the completion percentage, that's all going to come now. These plays are going to become rote memory. He's in charge of it all. He's in command, and he will be a more consistent quarterback in the first and third quarters going into 2026 than he was a year ago, first year in this offense.
Dylan Moss was looking for Ray McLeod up the sidelines, and Bears let the punt it away.
Don't you think, too, Jim, that when you are sort of this generational kind of quarterback in which you have all this mobility, although Caleb Williams is a pocket passer, he wants to stay back there, he wants to throw the football and execute pocket passer, he's going to knock on the door perhaps of a 69 or 69, 70% completion rate. It's going to be a little different for a mobile quarterback like Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they'll cater to his skills, too. You know, you're going to get more bootlegs, you're going to get more waggles, you're going to get more quarterback sweeps because he's so athletic and what he can do. And he provides more playbook that you can offer.
Good punt by Torrey Taylor. Caden Davis almost pinned it up. It is Dylan Gabriel in at quarterback now for Cleveland. Stop on Sanders made by Jamry Chroma. So Gabriel kind of gets pushed to the wayside, as you talked about.
He's somewhat cast off, and he can run. He's got a very strong arm. People forget his jugs machine. His arm was stronger than Josh Allen's of the Buffalo Bills at the Combine. This guy can absolutely hose the football if he wants to and when he wants to, but he's been kind of just a cast aside during this quarterback competition.
I really feel for the Cleveland fans because they've had 13 different starting quarterbacks since 2020, which is the most in the National Football League. And this carousel they've been on is wild. I mean, we saw Joe Flacco for them last season.
That carousel, you could extend that all the way back to the start of the Super Bowl era. You can, and certainly when Cleveland relocated back as a new franchise in the late 90s, nobody has had more quarterbacks used than the Cleveland Browns, and that's been a common theme going back to the late 1990s. The Bears have been through similar circumstances. They went through a handful of quarterbacks, a lot of QBs since the turn of the century, right around that same time span. And as we discussed earlier, what a luxury for Ben Johnson. He has his guy, and he has a room that's going to support that guy.
And I think he did it right. He did it right because he gave the young quarterback the support he needed, from the offensive line to the tight end. When you draft Colston out of Michigan, the receivers that they brought in, DJ Moore, the receivers they have now. You looked at the Bears earlier, even in my time, from drafting Cade McNown to Rex Grossman to other players. You've got to support the young quarterback. You've got to get players around him for them to grow and succeed. And I think Ben Johnson's doing it the right way with Caleb.
Nowhere to go for Gabriel, so he just ends up taking the sack. And Jeremiah Martin was bringing some pressure, so Gabriel just went down and took the loss of 9.
The Chicago Bears are hopeful that Luther Burden will be available to start week 1 against the Carolina Panthers as he deals with that groin injury. Remember this, too, with training camp. I think this is the most times I've ever seen Bears practice move indoors to the Walter Payton Center.
Weather's been just ridiculous the last 2 weeks.
But Adam, they've gone from grass to turf to turf to grass to grass to turf. That's wear and tear on the body. And so I don't think with some of these injuries we're hearing about, they're ultimately too concerning because there's some discomfort when you're moving from grass to turf on your body, especially for some of these speed guys and the bigger bodies on that turf.
A lot of soft tissue issues, a lot of knees and ankles, and the hope is that that groin injury will solve itself in the run-up for Luther Burden. Montez Sweat's been in and out, going back to about 10 days ago when he had an injury in practice. 3rd down and long for Dylan Gabriel, the left-hander. He's got time, and he overthrows his man. That's 2 for Beanie. Beanie Bishop Jr. looking for another opportunity, and a couple of floating passes just find themselves in his hands.
That's just too easy. Both throws, just overthrows. Got to pull it down and snap it through. Potentially could have had a completion, but Beanie has eyes for the football 2 times in a row. There's blue jerseys all around there. Even if it was completed, it would have made the tackle, but heads-up play by Beanie, back-to-back INTs.
Had a few stops in college, 4 years at Western Kentucky, spent a year with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Then he was an All-American a few years ago at West Virginia. Still didn't get drafted, made a nice impact as a part-time starter a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh for Mike Tomlin. Spent his time on the practice squad last year and making a nice showing to start the day today. Miller Moss back at it. And he loads up. End zone shot, and it's incomplete. Looking for Davis.
Miller Moss, of course, spent a couple years behind Caleb Williams there at USC before he went to Louisville to close out his college career, but just a little short in the end zone, maybe a little tug by the defender.
Yeah, just tried to uncover his receiver just a little bit. It's a nice read. He had the over route, but he saw it was double covered and goes to the right man one-on-one, and unfortunately just unable to uncover him just enough.
Spent last year at Louisville after 4 years at USC. Was 9-3 as a starter. When he was Caleb's backup, the final game that Caleb was part of the USC roster in 2023 was the Holiday Bowl. Caleb sat out of that game to prep for the draft, but he was still on the sidelines, and he wanted to watch his buddy Miller Moss go to work in that bowl game. Jasmine gave us that great story yesterday in our meeting, and he stood in there and delivered to J.P. Richardson after he got hit by Benton Whitley, and still gets solid yardage to set up 3rd down and short.
Yeah, I think he had 6 touchdowns in that game. It was a crazy game. Threw for over 300. But I like Jeff Brom at Louisville. I think he's very good at coaching young quarterbacks. So Miller Moss comes from good coaching.
Challenge flag thrown out by the Cleveland sideline.
Cleveland has challenged that ruling. Timeout.
So
I'd want to be in control of it.
I'm with you, buddy. 49-yarder from Santos extends the lead to 3 scores.
I asked Bill Belichick once. Oh, well, we got to go to break, but I'll tell you about Bill Belichick.
Well, as soon as you said Belichick.
Flag in his sock. If you've ever noticed,
right.
The red flag is tucked down below on the lower leg in his sock. And I said, you know, I'm a reporter, so I'm going to go ask the question. I'm sideline reporting for this game, so I went up to Coach after practice and I said, Coach, why do you keep it down in the sock? And he said, well, just to make sure I don't pull anything, the wrong thing out of my pockets. I don't know if I
suddenly threw up a crumpled $20 bill. Coach Robert Saleh there. Not much room for Devon Booth as James Lynch is there to plug up the hole. He has been an impactful player along with Chroma today up front. So some of the guys on the 2nd and 3rd line of the depth chart are making an impact.
Extremely active, but you mentioned that Tennessee game with Robert Saleh. You should get a good feel here today because one of his disciples is the defensive coordinator of these Cleveland Browns, Mike Rutenberg, and a lot of the same principles, whether it be single high. We've seen with Saleh a cover 3 in different instances, and certainly a lot of disguise pre-post snap. Although nobody really shows a whole lot in the preseason anyway.
Of course, and I imagine Robert would be the same way. It's an interesting AFC South. Does Jacksonville regress at all after their fantastic? I think of the Jaguars so similarly to the Bears defensively. Anthony Campanelli did such a good job. That team was generating takeaways just like Dennis Allen's group was. I will be very curious to see if the Bears, Texans, and Jaguars can recreate what they did last year.
Yeah, you bring up the Texans. To me, that team lights up as a championship defense. I know everybody's talking about what the Rams did trading for Myles Garrett, but don't sleep on that Houston Texans defense. It's been championship caliber for the last 3 years.
Nowhere to go for Gabriel, and Jamri Chroma is having a fabulous afternoon in Chicago. He is right there to put him down on the deck for another sack, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, Chroma's had a big game today. You're right about James Lynch. I think players starting to...
We looked up his measurables. Apparently the guy benches 450 and back squats almost 700 pounds. That'll do it. What a punt by Bojorquez, sending Caden Davis all the way back near the 10. And a good return by Davis to get back to the 30-yard line. Well done to make up for that booming kick. 63-yard punt. About a 20-yard return. Let's take a look at how the quarterbacks fared.
And he says, Dad, Coach ripped the SH out of me. And they just celebrated it. Like this is how he wants to be. And that's certainly what Ben can do with his backup quarterback.
He wants the position run the way he wants, and it's nothing personal. He just wants you to operate this offense the best that it can be.
Did I bleep myself okay?
I thought you did a very nice self-censor right there.
Thank you.
That was very well done, I thought.
Thank you.
There were no bleeps. We didn't produce that.
Yeah. That's just
he said nobody's talked to me like that my whole life other than you, Dad.
Other than my dad. And Caleb has said similar things. He now understands what Ben Johnson is about. I always joke with people, I did not see this from Ben Johnson when we were covering him in Detroit. He was mild-mannered. He was very much an offensive-minded nerd, as he would tell us. He was so locked in on the offense, but he didn't want to overstep what Dan Campbell was doing. He didn't want to overstep his bounds. Here is a nice delivery for the tight end, J.P. Richardson, and off that screen, he's able to take it into Cleveland territory. But Ben was so mild-mannered in our conversations when he was with Detroit, and when he got to Chicago and got the opportunity to be a head coach, that intensity level ratcheted up to, it was almost a 180-degree turn for Ben Johnson. It's really delivered quite the message for this particular team.
I mentioned John Shoup, who was with me as an OC here in Chicago, who's his mentor. John was a very intense guy, so he's always been around it. Whether John, who started out with the Carolina Panthers, I believe that's when Ben first started, and then, of course, went down to Miami. So he's been around it. Obviously, Dan Campbell's a very intense guy, and I think that's what people are worried about. Can he command a room? Clearly, he can. He can get the players' ear, and they're listening in the locker room.
Moss to McLeod for a big gain. 4 minutes to go, and a first down inside the 30 of Cleveland.
Nice throw.
I wonder if these crossing routes might be a factor over the course of the year because of some of the speed that you guys have talked about from the receiver spot.
There are no restrictions offensively with what this group should be able to do. Whether we brought up 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 3 wides, I think they're very physically talented offensively, and they should feel that they can score at will.
And it's very complex. I mean, we just saw the bubbled out throw to Richardson, and the offensive line get to the second level, and ended up being a nice gain to move the chains. Ben Johnson's always innovative. He's always creating new opportunities for these guys. And it's all about, it starts with the installation of the run game, which is insane. But you know, John Shoup did it.
Yep.
But we talked to Ben about it this week. And it really started for him. Spent so many years coaching this game, a lot of time with tight ends. And he really felt like his work with the tight ends gave him the gravitas to understand the angles up front.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 64.
And the technique.
After this is to the goal line from the end of the run.
And the technique and the fundamentals, excuse me, I never want to talk over the official, of those run blocks.
Well, Dennis Allen talked about, he said the challenge what he's faced against Ben Johnson, because they are complex, what Stacy just touched about, to get in the best angles, but it's in gap schemes, which are gap schemes for listeners out there. So there's a lot of double teaming in gap schemes. Zone schemes, the outside zone run, inside zone run, and then the play actions off of it. If you can get everything to look alike, that's when you can really make hay. And Dennis Allen said, it makes it tough on us. Our guys up front get confused. Is this a run? Is it a pass? It looks the same. And that's where you get conflict of interest and why you're able to be productive offensively.
There's Coleman Bennett after the penalty, sets up the Bears just outside the 10.
And
Stace, to your point about the run game, you have to draft tight ends or bring in tight ends that are going to block and be able to pass catch. That was a staple for Detroit. That's what Ben Johnson wanted, and he is certainly drafted to that blueprint.
they can all do it. They all do both, and they're all willing to do both, and that's the most important thing. But nobody had more receiving yards than Colston Loveland as he enters year 2. He and Luther Burden were fantastic and are going to be counted upon and relied upon. But when you think about this run game, imagine starting your week every week as you game plan in the NFL.
As Coleman Bennett breaks a tackle, run game, touchdown.
Touchdown.
That was all him. That was all him on that play. Good effort by Bennett. And
there's a collection of pieces of a puzzle on a board of what the opposing defense does. Ben Johnson takes those pieces and he pins them all together along with his offensive line and what they want to accomplish. And here's a replay. Just a nice bounce outside.
Yeah.
Line goes right, he goes left. And you have to appreciate the way the Bears are closing this one out.
And that's just, Ben's going to have to see how teams are going to play him. If he goes 13 personnel, because technically Colston's like a wideout, you know, so when they call 3 wides with Colston, took almost 4 rides.
I think that's part of the flexibility that we've talked about. That was what Khalif Raymond was used to when he was in Detroit. He might line up in the slot, might line up wide, might line up in the backfield or off the wing. Versatility and flexibility was what marked Ben Johnson's final year in Detroit. How frustrated were Bears fans when the Lions came here and Jared Goff is stumbling on trick plays because they could just mess with teams. That's what they did in that game. And now as you get into year 2, you don't have to worry as much about of a deep of an install. The language is similar, so now details and wrinkles and that continuity become more and more of a factor for this season. And as we've talked about, if the defense is going to be a little banged up, you might need to put a little more pressure on the opposing defense with your offense, a little more pressure on this Bears offense.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, if you talk to Ryan Poles about Ben Johnson and just the acquisition of, hey, Bears fans might say, why didn't we go for a pass rusher in the 3rd round? Why did we go for Sam Roush? Well, they really do see this thing through the same lens. And so they believe they have the best tight end group in the NFL. And, in talking to Ryan, I'll be point blank with it. He said, you talk about players having it. Ben Johnson has it. That is how he sees his head coach, and that is the relationship that has blossomed between the two over the last season and a half.
Cole Wilson is on the return for Cleveland. And he'll get past the 30-yard line with 2.5 to go. Cleveland still has all 3 of its timeouts remaining. Mentioned it was the Peanuts kids game for the slick back, one or the other. And I don't think I've seen an adult do it as smoothly as I've seen Johnny Walker do it. And last year, he had some really good reasons to do it. Some clutch touchdowns down the stretch.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know all the jargon, talk to Adam Amin. He's an incredible disc jockey. You are, man.
I appreciate that.
You could call a game and go disc jockey something at midnight. I don't know how you do it.
There's no boat out there for us tonight, unfortunately.
Well, we just saw Charlie Brown and Snoopy in his mosh pit. That's what it was.
Touche.
Yeah.
Peanuts mosh pit. So we get the 2-minute warning. It'll be 2nd and 3 for Cleveland on the backside of the 2-minute warning.
Seriously, working with you in the booth, man, to see you up here work the play-by-play, it's like you're working a turntable. I
appreciate that. We can always find some similarities between disciplines, I guess. Bears have.
What is really cool, though, is, Jade Walker, as we see him there with Ben Johnson. They're expecting a major leap from him.
Yes.
This guy was undrafted. I can't believe he actually wasn't drafted. He was like the heart and soul in his final season at Texas A&M, and he's become one of Caleb's BFFs. When Caleb needs a receiver, guess who he calls? That guy.
He made one of the biggest plays of the year, tying it up against Green Bay late in the season. That was a huge, huge catch.
24 seconds left. Yeah. He made the catch on what was his 2nd career reception.